welcome to another episode of Frame and Reference. I'm your host, Kenny McMillan, and you're listening to episode 157 with Ray Wongchinda, DP of the Tribeca Select film The Other, Gold. Enjoy.
Well, since you've heard the podcast, you know that we always ask, are you watching anything right now? Are you into any shows or games, I suppose? Because now that NCAA football's out, pretty much everyone and their mom's playing that.
No, I mean, I'm not. It's funny with video games. I used to be into them a lot more, and then I took a long break, and then I mean, I was really far behind with video games for a while, but it was. I also knew that it was kind of like video game industry is bigger than the entertainment, and I mean than film and television, and what got me back into it was Last of Us. Sure. So my parents had been telling me for the longest time, it was like, dude, Last of Us 1 and Last of Us 2 are incredible games. And so probably about 6 months before Last of Us released on TV, I bought a PS5 and I bought both games and I played through both of them. And then I played through Last of Us 2 like a couple times. And that game is like 3 times as long as Last of Us 1.
Yeah.
But you know, this is all out of date, but I just did it so that I could kind of see. I wanted to watch the show, you know, knowing what the game was like. So
yeah,
I went through all that.
Did you get the because I got like a launch PS5 and it came with like the 25 top games from the PS4 era.
No.
And oh, you didn't get that? Oh, because Last of Us was in there.
Now I feel ripped off.
Yeah, a little bit. That's because I was selling everyone on that console for the longest time. I was like, I've been playing it for 3 years. I don't think I've bought a single game.
Wow. Okay.
Because it was like,
mine.
God of War was in there, all that shit.
Yeah, mine did not come with a whole package like that. So
damn. Wow. Any shows then? Or movies? It's just I feel like everything's TV now.
I really liked Mr. and Mrs. Smith. But I know that that's been out for a little bit.
Yeah.
Sugar. I got through that. That was a really good show.
Yeah. I just interviewed that DP the other day.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. I watched some of it, and then I listened to some of it because I listened to it in my car.
Yeah.
And I still haven't gotten through the whole thing yet because I have to drive some more.
Yeah, I know. It's like an hour and a half every conversation. I'm always like, I know LA traffic's bad, but usually it's like 45 minutes.
A lot of times I Uber places because it's not the driving I don't like. I just hate parking in LA.
Dude.
So sometimes it's worth it for me to just take an Uber, and then the Uber costs as much as parking might have anyway. So.
Yep. And just like I am 100% same page. I will gladly take the lack of stress, you know, like wherever we're going, you know, just not even having to think about just being princessed over there. And then the lack of exactly of trying to find, or like, you know, the producer or whoever will be like, all right, well, parking's pretty bad. So if you need, we can send someone to get you and your gear. And I'm like, no, I'll just Uber there. Just don't. Give me $40. We'll call it a day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's terrible. I just got caught up in the whole CrowdStrike IT.
Oh no!
Issue, the airlines, and my wife and I, we were flying Delta.
And
I was stuck in Minneapolis for a few days, and then I had to give up on Delta because they were telling me that they couldn't even rebook my flight.
Yeah,
and it was crazy because we went to the airport and I gave them my luggage, and it was like not 30 minutes later after I checked my luggage, they told us that the flight was canceled. So I went back to baggage, and then they told me that they couldn't give me my baggage back, and they didn't know when they could, and then they couldn't rebook me on another flight. So it just like took a few days, and then I finally gave up, and I took Spirit. Yeah, I got a flight on Spirit that had a layover in Vegas, and then in Vegas, the flight was delayed in Vegas. I was stuck in Vegas for a little bit, just trying to get home. So.
I'm getting sent to Atlanta for a shoot next week on Thursday, and they send me like the flight details, and they're like, all right, does this look good? And it's on Delta, and I was like, do you guys watch the news? And they're like, we'll look at it again on Friday. And I was like, maybe look at Southwest. Like, I don't know if we're supposed to be taking Delta to Atlanta right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm honestly, that sounds like a nightmare. I mean, when I went to the airport to check my bags, the guy who's taking my bags, who worked for Delta, he was like, I don't know why anyone's even coming to the airport. Like, no one should be trusting what the app or the internet, our systems say on the internet, if the flight is still on or not. Like, just don't even come.
So as someone with like a background in computer science and shit, did you like just read what had happened and just start looking at everyone like, oh, we're hyper fucked. This is not this is not going to go well.
Oh, that's funny. You do your research, eh? Yeah, no, I mean, I saw that it was an IT problem. It was taking down machines. So I pretty quickly figured we should get away from Delta, considering how they were working. But yeah, I don't know. I think I was just like, the hope was driving me. You know, like the guy was shaking his head as I was giving him our bags.
Right.
Is, you should not be giving me your bags. It says it's still on. You know.
Yeah, that was a tough. I think like it might have been fake, but I think like Southwest had a joke that was like, you know, our system is run off a Commodore 64 in our friend's basement. Like, we're good. Come on in. Like, we're on Unix.
Yeah, right.
It's funny because we were talking about video games and like I used to play semi-professional Counter-Strike like in high school before it was cool, you know. And of course, my parents were very supportive, but they were basically like, you need to stop. If you want to be in movies, you should stop playing video games because that's just distracting. And it's like, fuck, I should have just stayed with video games.
Yeah.
I would have had so much more money if I was good enough.
I mean, people are getting full rights to college,
Yeah,
on esports scholarships and stuff. I mean, I guess that's not a surprise because people are gajillionaires just from playing esports.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think I never would have known that. You know, my parents definitely discouraged me. So,
well, yeah, is that what like it? Because you started basically with photography in the art world, right? Coming from like a more traditional science background.
Yeah.
Did they push you in that direction?
Did my parents push me?
Just being in like an engineering kind of role, or did that actually excite you?
Yes, there was a time. I mean, I love physics. Like, I totally love physics. I loved engineering at the time. Computer science was exciting to me. Like, when I was a little kid, my dad always had a computer in the house. Like, and he was teaching me how to program when I was a little kid, and I liked it. I mean, I'd all day long, even at home, I'll just watch, theoretical physics YouTube channels and stuff.
PBS Space Time, baby.
Yeah, totally. I love PBS Space Time. But my sister, she worked in, she was the artist in the family. She was, she kind of introduced me to a lot of what it was like to not just live in the world of engineering in an Asian family.
Sure. Did she work at Legacy, or what shop was she at?
She was, okay, so she started off, she started when she got into movies. She worked in other areas in art for a while, but when she got to movies, she was at Boss Film Digital Studios and Digital Domain.
Got it.
And then she got invited. My sister is quite a bit older than me, but she got invited to New Zealand when they were shooting Lord of the Rings to form Weta. So she would have been part of the initial team of Weta. But she, at that time, she was like, I don't know, man, the film industry is so unstable. And she wanted to have kids,
Sure.
kind of normal life. And she was just, I don't know if I can keep doing this film thing. And she's like, but they're going to make Lord of the Rings, and then but she was like, no, I think I want to try to have a family. I think I want to, and she was dating, she was pretty serious with this guy at the time. And then she went to work for Mattel, and she's been
cool.
For Mattel for a long time. Like, she's a sculptor for Mattel.
Right. Because she was doing models at.
Correct.
Before,
She was doing a lot of model making, and Like if you like, she worked on a lot of big movies too. She worked on like Fifth Element and Starship Troopers and movies like that. Armageddon, I think, was one of them. And like like if you look in the old Cinefex magazines, she's with Fifth Element, she's in the model. You see pictures of her in the model shop working.
I have that over here.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll have to look it up after this. Yeah,
see her in there. Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah. And yeah, so she just, I would go visit her on set, be like, oh my God, this is, and I wasn't even into filmmaking at the time. It was just kind of like, I think it was my introduction to filmmaking in a way. It's totally helped me out as a DP, as I was kind of, starting out and climbing the ranks and trying to figure things out. I would give her a call and go like, we got this shot. It's supposed to look like we're shooting through a keyhole. And she's like, okay, tell the model makers to build it at this scale, and you're going to be this sort of like, and she just would give me all these tips, and it would help me out a lot.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
Fifth Element specifically is like, that thing might as well just be a prop maker's dream.
Oh, dude, it was, I mean, she loved it. She loved it. It was like, she has, a piece from the set. It's like a little tower they gifted her that was in the movie. So she got to take some stuff home.
That's rad.
Yeah.
What's she modeling at Mattel?
Oh gosh, she's all over the place. She's done a lot of celebrity heads. Like when they make a doll for a celebrity, she be the one who sculpts the head. There's a lot of there's a lot of her not being able to tell me what she's working on. There's a lot of NDA stuff. I mean, she's one of the senior sculptors there. She's been there a long time.
Right on.
Yeah.
I like you were saying, I imagine that being on some of those sets early on was pretty instructive for you as a DP, just because you were able to see. Because I feel like that's some of the behind the scenes that we've lost with physical media not being as, although apparently it's coming back, which thank God. But the behind the scenes stuff on a lot of Blu-rays isn't great. But I would always watch that to see like, where are they putting the lights? Like what, for something that looks supernatural, not supernatural, but super natural. A lot of times it takes a lot of lights and a lot of neg and whatever, and I imagine being able to see that as a youth was probably pretty helpful.
Yeah, it made me realize how complicated photography could be, and more about shaping light around objects, and I think there's something about seeing light shaped around something smaller in front of you that helps you kind of understand it better than, like if I were just to have walked onto a set that young and, watched a seasoned DP, like erecting giant frames, and just shaping the light around a scene. I don't know if it would have made as much sense to me than when I saw little miniature versions, because you kind of see the big picture a little bit. It's almost having like a God's eye view of the landscape.
Right.
You see like how light's being, like shadows are being cast and stuff like that. So I think that helps with my intuition with shaping light.
Sure. But what type of, I don't know if I've ever asked anyone this, but like when you're lighting something small, like a model, pardon me, because obviously, I guess you're the physicist, you tell me. Obviously, soft light is just big relative to subject. So like when you're lighting a small model, even though the light's real small, are you still able to achieve that soft, or do they even want soft light with a model?
I think it depends on how close you are to it.
Yeah.
A lot of times, like a lot of times these models were used as kind of for what would essentially be like a wider shot. Anyways, I think the closer you get to something, the bigger they're going to make it for detail.
Sure, of course. Yeah.
So then like the smaller stuff, it's kind of like a wider shot. And in wider shots, I think there's kind of a tendency to you can be a little bit more contrasty and not need the light to like softly wrap around something. Right. Like the subtlety of all that is a little bit different. So
yeah. Were you into those kind of like sci-fi heavy, not effects, but like world building movies, or were you more into like kind of the more realistic, drama type stuff like that got you into filmmaking?
Gosh, it's the realistic drama stuff, I think. I mean, first time I saw Star Wars when I was a little kid, I was like, holy crap, I definitely loved those old films and stuff. And that got me excited. But I think that the movies that made me like really like fall in love with with the medium as an art form, were I call them like movies where it's just a bunch of people talking to each other.
Right.
It's just people trying to figure themselves out, in their relationships with other people. I think one of the movies, like, it so strangely is pretty, but I was like, I think I saw The English Patient, and I was like, wow. And it's like it's can be kind of a boring movie, but I remember like really liking it. I think Memento like really made me excited about that too. So that isn't just a bunch of people talking to each other. There's a little bit more going on with that, but like,
there's only a couple locations in that film. Like for how big of an impact that film had on, I feel like we're roughly the same age, like people in our generation. It is a relatively simple film. It's just constructed in a way that is quote unquote, not confusing, but elaborate.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen it, but I mean, it's his whole, I think that movie really is just about how he plays with the guy's perception of time and everything. But yeah, I agree. I don't think there's much of, what was the budget of that movie? Like $3 million or something?
Yeah, it was probably pretty low. Cause I think I don't know Chris Nolan's like whole story, although the man loves his time movies.
And things within the thing. That's his thing.
But I think he did like Following, and then I think it was Memento, like right after that.
Yeah, I think it was like, I could be wrong, but I remember reading an article, and I think it went, Following was at Slam Dance, and he met Wally Pfister, and then he asked Wally Pfister onto Memento, and that's when they worked together.
What happened to Wally? Do you know? I feel like he
directing, right? Like,
did he? Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was kind of dropped the mic. He was like, all right,
I did
pretty much did everything I could do here.
The Batman residuals are keeping me afloat. I'm good.
Yeah.
I feel like it's been talked about a lot, but there does seem to be something about those 90s, early 2000 films that sort of reflect the same spirit of like, not ingenuity necessarily, but like risk taking and stuff that was prevalent in the 70s that disappeared the second the superhero films showed up. Yeah. And now I feel like we're just starting to get those again. And it's kind of exciting. Everything's always cyclical, but like, I feel like now, like this summer especially has had a bunch of like, not first time directors, but, or, indie directors basically getting handed like Quiet Place or, anything like that and succeeding.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, I think other people have probably talked about this, but it's, you feel that the money is moving away from the tentpole stuff, and they're taking note of a little bit of A24 stuff. They're kind of pushing things in that direction, taking some risks, letting the art come back out.
Yeah. You had 2 movies at Tribeca, right?
I did, yeah.
Were they both first-time directors, or just the gold one? I should have wrote down the titles.
That's correct. Yeah, no, I think that, they're both first-time directors. I'm pretty sure this is David's first, at least, feature film. That's from but one of them's a documentary. So
okay.
Narrative when and the other one's a documentary.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but yeah, it's definitely Charest for the. So the other gold was the narrative film. It was in the U.S. narrative competition there, and Charest and David, first time directors.
So how did you get involved we'll start with Sheree. How did you get involved with them? And, was that like a previous relationship, or did they pull you out of like a crowd and go, you're the one?
I wish. Well, it was really unusual. Like back in, gosh, when was it? It was 2016. I was walking around LA, and I found a driver's license on the floor, and I was like, that sucks. And I put it in my pocket, went home, and I found the person on Facebook, and I messaged them, and it was Sheree, and she said, okay, I'll come and pick it up. And then we met, and she told me she was an actor, and I told her I was a DP, and then that was it. She thanked me, and she took her driver's license, and then I think we kind of, we kind of followed each other on Facebook for a little bit, and then I think there was like one time, like 2 years later, somebody was looking for DP, and she had recommended me.
Damn.
And then, but then like in I think it was in 2022, early 2022, she messaged me out of the blue and said, we were still in lockdowns and pandemic, and she was like, yeah, I wrote this pandemic script. You want to read the script? I want to see if you want to shoot it. And I read the script, and it was there was a lot of it was really relevant, and there's a lot of funny moments in it. And I mean, it was the pandemic, like we weren't doing anything, so I was delighted to come on board, and do something.
Yeah.
I think when we started out, I don't know, I just thought of it more as like, okay, this is just something to do while no one else can do anything.
Get the reps in at least.
Right, exactly. And then it just started. The movie just started really expanding. She, and for people who don't know, she wrote it, directed it, co-directed it, was the lead actor in it, and produced it. And as a producer, she had a lot of relationships with some great actors, and she was bringing on some incredible people for the project. They weren't all on I think when we first started principal photography, but they eventually all came on board. She would just worked it as a producer and started making it all happen. So first time too. I'd never even made a short film.
Straight to Tribeca with you.
Like into the US, into the competition,
Yeah.
Like, easy.
That, I mean, that has to be, at least on your part, the craziest job get. Like finding someone's ID, and it's like, now I have a job. I can't imagine anyone has something that like surreptitious, or not magical. I don't know what you want to call it. Like random happenstance, ending up well for you beyond just like making a friend. Yeah.
I mean, it just totally reinforces like my view of this industry, where it's like I've done everything that I think I can to like try to make relationships and do what I can, and then probably one of the biggest projects I have is because I found someone's driver's license on the ground.
Yeah. Well, and I also think that the extension of that, which has been my theory for the longest time, is like networking is not going to events and trying to get people's business cards or whatever. Networking is just being nice and being places and being prepared. Like I've gotten more jobs hanging out with friends and meeting their friends at like a bar or whatever, a house party, whatever it may be, more so than like industry events or whatever. Like you go to Cinegear and meet people 20 times out of 10, you're not getting a gig off that.
Yeah. It's I've seen a number of instances where you sense that people are choosing, that they're willing to sacrifice a certain percentage of talent for a person that they would rather spend 18 hours a day on set.
Yeah.
To a certain degree, it has to be reasonable. You're not going to take
there's a threshold.
Yeah, there's a threshold.
Did the obviously I wasn't able to see the movies because they're at Tribeca and everyone gets any festival they get real tight about handing out screeners. But from what I read, the other gold takes place almost exclusively in one room, and I guess had a very they said a very My Dinner with Entree type focused, small in the sense of a location and behavior element to it. Is that accurate?
Yeah. I mean, well,
was that a strict inspiration, or is that just someone typing like it's kind of like that?
yeah. No. She actually gave me that as a reference.
Okay.
When she first handed me the script, but it I should say it isn't the whole movie takes place, and it's just just kind of like the core of the movie, a really critical part of the movie. And a high percentage of the movie in terms of screen time does take place in this one apartment. But there are other elements, we're outside a lot, and there's an amazing scene in a barber shop, and so there are other places, but there's just like this really important core part of the movie happens there.
So it's more like Panic Room.
yeah, a little bit like that. Like distribution of time or something like that.
But I did also see that it was primarily like natural. I imagine it wasn't like a very high budget production, especially if someone's like producing, acting, directing it on their own. So how were you able to approach that film to keep it looking, high quality, above that threshold, as we said, without, the resources that you might be handed on a sort of, I guess, externally funded short or something to that effect?
So we leaned on natural light a lot. And what we did have going for us is that we had a lot of flexibility with when we could schedule shoot days and when there was a lot of people who really weren't doing much because of the lockdowns and stuff. So, when you shoot with natural light, there's a lot of, we didn't go as far as like The Revenant, we're not shooting for like 15 minutes and then waiting, a whole day to shoot another 15 minutes. But there are, windows of time. And so we kind of scheduled things around that and then spread out the shoot over multiple days for different things with that. And there was, we grouped the days that we did need a G&E package. We grouped them very tightly and just have the awesomest gaffer in the world, Chad Hurrell. I gotta give you a shout out, man. I love that guy. When you have an amazing team come in and everyone is into the project, because we don't have much else going on anyway. Right. I think you can piece it together and get it done. I wish that we had more time. I do wish, I had a Genie package, just in case all the time. But, I think when we did the exterior stuff, the directors were really open to, waiting for Overcast Days. We wanted that look anyways. We wanted an overcast look outside because there's something about like that kind of overcast look that just kind of feels like it's a gloomy day and you're sick at home. And it's like, we wanted that kind of COVID sick feeling going on.
Right.
Not to mention just, an overcast day is better for light a lot of times.
Giant softbox.
Yeah. And we didn't have, we couldn't, I couldn't throw out 100-foot frame, for the talent. So we were waiting for Overcast Days, but we did a lot of scouting to look for locations because we shot in downtown LA. So we did a lot of scouting to find locations where I could use big black buildings as negative fill. Right. And then when we found these locations that had, large, darker buildings in the right layout, the directors were very open to blocking for kind of how we needed them to make that negative fill work and stuff like that. So that they were very accommodating.
Yeah. So what I guess that just brings up the thought, like, how long was pre-production and what were some of the like more unique challenges? Because obviously, like you said, scouting for the proper light, but was there anything else that kind of like immediately jumped out to you in the script that you're like, okay, we need to hammer in on this?
I mean, it was that my dinner with Andre kind of section where we were inside the apartment. I knew that I think anytime you're just kind of you're in one location like that, it can get visually monotonous, you know. So we're just trying to figure out ways to keep it visually interesting, but still make it feel like part of the story, not distracting in any way. The space that we used was rather large, and it had a pretty large external patio on it. So we managed to break, like, Sheree kind of like knew that we needed to move around, so she kind of broke up the script so that we moved around the apartment in a way that really made sense for the story. Because when she first approached me with the script, she said the setting is a pandemic, but it's not about the pandemic. It's about women relationships and friendships, and how difficult they can be. I think she might have even used the word fickle. That's not my word, but it's about like an old relationship that her character had with her old friend, and they had a falling out. And when we're in this apartment in the movie, it's like the first time they had seen each other in like 5 years, and they kind of, at the beginning of the relationship, it's a little tiptoey. They're very careful with each other, and then as they get used to each other again, they start to discuss, their relationship, why they fell apart, and then it kind of moves into kind of a darker. Then they start getting into like getting mad at each other. I guess I should have given a spoiler alert there, but like it has this interesting arc through all that, and so we had blocked out those different stages of the relationship in different parts of the apartment that made sense. There's things physically separating them when they're kind of nervous around each other, and then as they get closer, you can see them moving into couches, like they're across from each other, then they're on the same couch, and it's like you just feel the intimacy building, and it kind of gave us motivation to move around the apartment and the outside. So it kept it visually interesting, but it also fit the storyline.
Yeah, the lost art of blocking.
Yeah.
When you say like we pretty much leaned on natural light, do you mean like just straight up we shot it as is, or was there some modification going on? I assume.
So the stuff at night, that's when I had the G&E team. That's when we were actually lighting it. But during the day, we used natural light pouring through windows. We definitely blocked for the natural light.
Gotcha.
The light's very directional. It's coming through the windows, so they were very open to working with me, so that we still had a lot of shape to it, and it felt right.
Gotcha. So you weren't even like diffusing stuff or like neg or any bounce or anything like that. You were just like raw dogging it essentially.
No. There was use of negative fill and possibly some bounces, but we didn't actually use any. We didn't have giant HMIs outside
the
window, firing into frames and bouncing through or anything like that. It was all just natural light, and then it was about either. And honestly, I don't even know if we used any bounces. I think we probably just neg filled a lot.
So
just trying to.
Does working that light, is that not with that light? I mean, like less resources, I suppose. Is that freeing, or was that a little scary? Because on the one hand, you could just be like, oh, I don't have to do anything. Like I can just frame this up and it looks good, or was it kind of a little trepidatious?
I love natural light, man. I think the problem is it's not consistent, and there's certain times of the day when it looks way better than it does at other times. But man, when you're in that window of time when it looks good, and I love it. I love it better than, I mean, it's very rare that like you that you can light even when you have all the resources, that you can light the way it can look if the way God makes it.
Right.
But it's just yeah, I don't know. I get excited when a director, like, there's times when I do have the resources and I kind of want to use natural light, and then it turns into a thing where the director gets a little nervous because I don't know if the light's going to be consistent enough through it, and if it's something quick enough. I'm a lot of times I'll push for it. I I'm somewhat experienced colorist. I think a lot of DPs nowadays, and production doesn't have a budget. Right, exactly.
Over the pandemic, I became a real good colorist.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, look, I'm not gonna call myself, like, I'm not handling huge films at Company 3, but like,
Yeah.
I understand how the footage can be pushed here and there, and I think it helps me in low budget situations. I know what I can get away with it with. So I think I do that sometimes anyways. And on this movie, we had all agreed that it, not only would it work with the budget better, but the look was preferable, like just overcast exteriors and stuff. And, so we kind of needed it because we had we had some key scenes that had a lot of improv, and Sheree, it was really important to Sheree and David, the two directors, that we had a lot of freedom. We gave a lot of freedom to the actors for that, and then we had decided to cross shoot for the improv scenes, and with that, it gets a little tricky if you have G&E structures up and around the town. So, and we weren't quite at a place where I could suspend large frames above them. So I think Overcast Days were kind of a necessity. But with that, it gave us a lot of freedom, and gave the actors a lot of freedom to move around, and the camera operators a lot of freedom to find a nice frame.
Well, it I don't know why it just occurred to me, but you mentioned a few times that you were like planning for these Overcast Days, but we live in Los Angeles. How did you plan for Overcast Days?
I don't know what it was. It was at the time we were getting them. Like, we got lucky. I think.
All right.
They're shooting. We were shooting during a little bit during June Gloom, I think. So
yeah, I guess the past up until like last month, it was pretty crap here all the time.
Yeah, and
this year,
I would be surprised who don't live in LA. Like, it's not all palm trees and blue skies.
Yeah,
you get a lot of overcast days, and then especially when you move closer to the ocean, you're going to get a lot of marine layer overcast days in the morning and stuff like that. Although we didn't shoot close to the ocean, it was really important to the directors that we didn't show the typical blue sunny skies, palm tree LA. They really wanted to show little Tokyo, overcast days.
Yeah.
Another side of LA. So
yeah, that whole arts district, little Tokyo zone is pretty neat. I live on the west side. I always find it hilarious. Like, I'll go into Burbank to go to like Film Tools or something, and it's 90, and then the second I get back over the 10, it's like straight back to marine layer, and I'm like, where do we live?
Yeah, I live on the west side as well. It's like 10 degrees cooler.
Yeah. That's pretty nice.
All my friends live over there.
Dude, have you? This just occurs to me. Have you been over to Sentry City much?
Not
necessarily the mall, but the city.
I've been there. I have. I mean, I've been there. Yeah, but I don't go there like every day.
Yeah, my gym is over there, and every time I go there,
you have a nice gym.
I mean, yes, but it's not like an Equinox. It's it's just nice. What do you want to call it? The workouts are nice. Like, they're designed well, but the gym, it doesn't matter. So Sentry City, it's fascinating because obviously you got the Die Hard Tower there. but the whole city, like none of the buildings, it looks like downtown if you like frame it right, and the light comes in and bounces in really interesting ways off these buildings. But unlike downtown, none of the buildings have labels on them.
Yeah.
And every time I walk around there, I'm like, this is like a perfect like set. If you only need like a couple blocks of city, like it looks like any downtown, like it's a nondescript downtown because nothing has a label on it.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, someone needs to shoot down here.
That's like CAA doesn't have it. Does CAA have a label on them? They don't, right?
Maybe on like the sign out front, but not on the building itself.
Yeah.
It's a very like a corporate office area where it's like, unless you're looking at the front sign, everything is just a nondescript building.
I always looked at Sentry City like it was all the rich people in Beverly Hills didn't want to go to downtown LA, so they built their own downtown LA.
Yeah. 100%. Sorry, that was a sidetrack on my part. As you've heard this podcast, I fucking go everywhere. But we were talking about the natural light thing. I did want to ask about the documentary. First of all, what was it? You said the director, David. What was it about? And then also, was he aiming for more of that polished, composed, natural light look, or was it more just like we're shooting what we've got?
Yeah, no, I think so David Smick, he's the director. They definitely, this was more lit. Like, but this project was like interviews and some B-roll footage and stuff. Gotcha. I think the B-roll stuff was more natural. It was definitely, we didn't like go out and light when we're following characters around. We weren't lighting that, so to speak. But I think there were when I was operating for that, there was a lot of me orienting the camera so that it looked good for light, so long as it worked for what we were trying to capture. Right. So I would manipulate, the directionality of light simply by my operating, right? Because we weren't trying to direct. I don't think we were trying to direct the people. It's a documentary. You're trying to let things happen as they naturally would, but no, it was. I think that's a more polished, lit look. Sure. Michael Douglas narrated it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and it definitely has a higher budget look than what we were going for and the other goal.
Yeah. And what was the doc about?
It's called America's Burning, and it's kind of about it explores like the political division in the country and the socioeconomic issues we're kind of having. It addresses a lot of kind of how the social contract has changed a little bit. This is how I see it. Where people used to be able to work a single job and be able to afford a house and raise a family, and now with dual incomes you can't even buy a house,
or raise a family.
It addresses that, and compounded by all the political division. It even explores kind of like the concept of the Civil War, like and they were doing they came up with this concept before they even knew the movie.
Yeah. Well, the movie's about journalists anyway, so
yeah, exactly. No, but then they kind of there's a really interesting kind of mock situation they go through. What would a civil war look like if it were to actually happen, and they just kind of explore all of that, and there's a hopeful ending to it, though. It isn't all doom and gloom.
Sure. But I will say, if millennials are single issue voters, it's that like everything feels insurmountable and unaffordable simultaneously.
Oh yeah. Yeah. When I was watching the movie at Tribeca, the audience was definitely engaged with that film. I mean, people yelling out loud, saying things while they're watching it, agreeing, getting upset about certain issues that were brought up. It was really cool to see an audience that engaged with the movie.
And what type of subjects were you interviewing?
Oh gosh, it was it's a lot of political powerhouses, a lot of people, a lot of economic powerhouses, like people. It David is quite a respected economist himself, and he has a bestseller. Um, and you can imagine the types of interviews he would get with other respected economists and political figures. It was like that.
Gotcha. And so how do you approach, I'm about to do something vaguely subject wise, not subject to the film, I mean person, the interviewee, somewhat similar high powered folks. When you, I assume these people that don't have all the time in the world, you know, how are you getting on, not on set, but entering their space? You know, what type of setups did you have? But also, how are you as the DP interacting with these subjects in a way that they feel comfortable with you, but also you're not, you know, probably supposed to take up any time. This is director or interviewer and interviewee, you know, but you're part of it, you know.
My philosophy when I'm shooting interviews for a documentary like this is to be as invisible as possible. I really don't want to influence it. I mean, you know what's interesting is even on a narrative film, I've been in situations where an actor is asking me, you know, how did I do? How did I do? And asking me for feedback, and like even when like early on, I would give the actor encouragement. If I genuinely thought it was an amazing performance, I'd let them know that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had directors get really upset at me about that. Like, don't tell my actors that they're doing good. You know?
Right.
And I've kind of learned, like, I got to be careful with that. You know, I think it depends on my relationship with the director. There's some directors who really, you know, I just have such a close relationship with them, and they trust me so much that, you know, it's fine either way. But I really try to be careful, but especially in a documentary where, you know, to me, it's almost like a lab setting in the sense that they're trying to extract, you know, a genuine reaction from this person. I'm trying not to contaminate it in any way. You know, it just kind of, you know, get it lit and get out of the way and make sure that it's set up in a way that it can, like, won't interrupt the session and allow them to just continue. And if they're getting gold, I can't be like, whoa, hold on. And, you know, I think it's a little too bright right here. Let me flag up a little light right here. I just got to stay out of the way when I'm doing that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, the toughest part is like if something does go wrong with like the cameras, for instance, you just have to eat it until they start asking another question, because you're not going to go with the interviewees talking. So you're just like, shit. Yeah. Okay. Iris. Okay. No, you're good. Good. What?
I think it's a little different than when you're out, you know, getting B-roll or shooting, you know, whoever the subject is out in the real environment. You're following them around, and it's a little different there. You know, you kind of, I think you're still trying to stay out of the way and let what would naturally occur happen. But I think I'm paying a little bit more attention, you know, like, cause I'm interacting with them in a way and trying to anticipate what might happen so that I can be in the right place for it.
Yeah.
But with interviews, it's just like that, and make sure that you're not going to interrupt anything.
Yeah. You know, it's actually a great point that you brought up about like not telling actors that they did a good job or whatever, not because whatever, quote unquote, that's not your job, but because I think anyone who works in any art form knows that we're all doing it at the end of the day. Yeah, you love it, but you to have fun and play around with your friends. And it's hard to not, you know, be nice. Someone go, how'd I do? Of course, you're going to be like, oh, great. You know, like, even if you didn't think about it, you just go, yeah, uh-huh. Hell yeah, dog. You know, just to be encouraging. And then the director's like, actually, that sucks. Shut the fuck up. Like,
Yeah. And the actor's like, well, Ray said that, you know, great.
But it's funny. I've heard in a bunch, like, director or like interviews with certain actors, I've noticed they actually do say that, like, you know, a lot of times maybe the director's behind the monitor the whole time, and it's like them and the camera operator. And at a certain point, the actors worked with the operator more than the director. And so that's where their initial, because actors are always like looking for, you know, the go, no go. And if they've only got one person in front of them, it's the camera operator. And as you highlighted, they can't say it. They just got to be like, oh, I can get on the radio if you want. I don't like.
Yeah. And that's really hard. That's really hard trying to defer or say, you know, trying to like not take on any liability with that. Like I've had actors, and I think it just depends. You kind of got to read the set, you know?
Yeah.
It's delicate. It can be delicate. There's some directors who don't want you saying anything to their actors, and others it's a set where it's okay, and you develop that relationship with the actor.
Yeah,
but it's not always it's okay to tell the actor what you think. I'll tell you that.
No, it's funny. I'm a relatively gregarious person. I wouldn't have 170 episodes of this fucking thing if I didn't like talking. And my buddy hired me on this doc, and he like right before we like get started with pre-production, he goes, "Hey man, I've known this guy for 15 years." He goes, "Just wanted to say up front, because you're you, this isn't the time to make friends." It's not like a dark document. It's a very like lighthearted doc, but he's like, just saying, we're hiring you to work.
I totally get it, man. I've been there. Yes.
Oh, I did. Man, this is at the bottom of my notes list. So I went on your website to see what was up. I think you're the only person I've met who has shunned the common wisdom, or that people tell you when you're starting out. You have a 16-minute reel.
I was wondering if you were going to say something about that. Yeah, I know. And it's so okay. Let me explain my philosophy about that.
Yes, I love this.
So there's a lot of DP reels where it's like shot, right? Like and they're cutting quick and they're showing amazing shots. But I think what I was trying, this all stemmed from when I was getting in a conversation with, I had some friends who are editors, some who are directors, and we're all talking about what does the reel look like for an editor? What does the reel look like? And like, I remember I was talking to one of my editor friends in this group, and I was like, I feel like an editor's reel needs to like at least be like scenes, so you can show how you're cutting and developing a scene. And then it made me think about my reel, and I was like, I feel like maybe a DP's reel shouldn't just be the best cherry-picked shots that you have, but it like possibly at least parts of a scene, so that you can show how you can develop visually, a scene arc or something like that, or just how do you open that scene? How does your other coverage fit in with how you opened that scene and everything else visually? There's this visual continuity and tone that goes through it. So like, there's a lot of stuff where I'm not just showing my favorite shot from a scene or a movie, but rather the shots surrounding that to show how I get into that shot, how it comes out, and how the rest of the scene feels. There's also, I group other shots from a particular project, right, with it, so that you can see how other parts of the movie look relative to that scene. So, and they're all shots that I like anyways. They're not necessarily always my favorite shots, but I feel like I'm trying to show that I can be cohesive in a movie, that things can be visually cohesive and work with each other when they're cut together. There's, my shots can be cut together. Right. I'm just trying to show that I can develop it visually. So,
well, and it's a great point you bring up, because more and more younger folks are coming from a photography background, and not from didn't go to film school, potentially. Not that you need to go to film school, but don't have a more traditional education in the language of cinema, the visual language of getting shots that cut together, and instead are taking moving photographs that don't actually cut together. And it's way easier to hide that you don't know how to link shots together in a 1.5 minute reel of all your favorite pretty shots. You might as well make a photo book and just hand that to the producer and be like, well, I know how to light pretty, so you're 100% right on that. Like, that is I don't want to say bulletproof, but very solid theory on why to make a longer reel.
Also, I don't think anyone's gonna watch the whole thing anyways. I had somebody that who has a lot of experience in the industry that I trust a lot tell me that what happens is directors will look at maybe the first 2 or 3 minutes of your reel. Maybe they'll skip around a little bit, and they'll see that you're competent, or they'll see that, oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Now then they'll meet you, and then they want to assess whether they can tolerate you, you know.
Yeah.
And then if after the meeting they like you, then they'll go back and study the shit out of your reel.
Yeah.
And it's usually how it kind of works. And so it's like, my reel will work for that scenario.
100%. No, that's so smart. I mean, if I were to redo mine in a similar fashion, I guess I would do like the current movie trailer thing where it's like the first 30 seconds are like a cut together highlight reel of what the trailer is going to be. So you do that, because you're so right. Like I've asked plenty of DPs the real question, and 9 times out of 10, it's exactly what you said, where it's like, yeah, it's a gut check for the producer or the director. Are they competent? Are they like, do they know how to, like, does this look like they've only shot, music videos on their cell phone or whatever? Okay, good. Now let's start emailing. So that's actually a very, God, I got to think about that. That's pretty smart.
But I think I also need, I'm actually planning on cutting just like a really tight one, just in case, and kind of having, I don't know. I haven't figured out what I know it.
Well, we can workshop this. Maybe you have the normal one, right? And then under it you have links. If we're thinking that the timeline is quick gut check, skipping around, interview, study, you have the quote unquote traditional reel, and then links below it to those scenes in full. So it's all your like highlight shots, and then just the scene clipped out in like private unlisted videos, whatever.
Study.
Yeah. The Cliff Notes version versus the actual book,
I could see people just arguing, well, if the directors moved on to the study version, they'll probably just want to see the films you shot, or just like watch those. But
I suppose.
I don't know. I don't know where it all fits. But I just felt like it was important to show that, like, I wasn't just making these singular pretty shots.
Yeah.
Like that. I want people to see that there was, I could shoot stuff that could support those shots, and it would work, and it would all flow together, like.
Yeah. Well, you also have the body of work where you can fill out a 16-minute. If I tried attempting that, it would get boring fucking quick. But I did have a similar thought of like, in mine, I don't think there's any single shots. Like, it's like every project has at least like 4 that all cut together.
Yeah.
Or are part of one scene or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. That's something I've been struggling with, but like, I love that you brought it up.
Well, because the natural flow of it is like, do you have a reel, and then are you represented? But you're also in 600.
I am. Yeah.
So do you have representation?
I don't yet. No, that I actually am meeting with some agents this week and next week.
And so
I don't know if anybody wants me.
I'm sure someone will.
But Tribeca has helped me. I should say that.
Well, that was going to be my follow-up. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been getting meetings with agents, and then I'm going to see what comes of it, and if it's a situation where I'm actually getting to pick an agent, or if anybody wants me at all. But this is way more than has ever happened to me before. So
sure. And what was the path like to getting in the union? Because that's, especially these days, like a pretty hot topic, just being in unions in general.
Yeah. I mean, I joined right at the beginning of COVID. So like,
sweet,
coming into COVID, right? Actually, I wouldn't have joined had it not been for COVID. In a way, I mean, I would have eventually, I think, but COVID is what motivated me. So I had my days prior to that. I had actually easily had all my qualifying days, but I was just way too lazy to join. And a lot of the stuff that I'm shooting are these indie films that are like international films. They're not, it's funny, the largest crews, the smallest crews I've worked with has been on US soil. Like
Right.
it's like my bigger crews I tend to work with, it's internationally. And and so like I easily had my days, but I just was like, I mean, I didn't know if it made sense to join. I just, it was a lot of work with contract services and you know, when I wasn't shooting, I was just exhausted or just trying to spend time with my, you know, with my wife. And like, and then when COVID hit, I'm just, everyone's just sitting at home doing nothing. So I just kind of figured, all right, well, I'll just start seeing what this is like getting everything that contract services want. So I reached out to Local 600 and contract services and got, you know, everything you need to send them. And I slowly, you know, started compiling everything. And it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's like, it is just like, and then, but I, again, like, I don't know if I would have done it had I not been sitting around during COVID, but I did.
Yeah.
And I got it all in, and then I had to, and then once you get in, you got to take all those classes, and it was nice because they were, yeah, I think prior to COVID, you had to actually go in,
Right.
take a lot of these classes and tests, and they had made it so you could do it on. So basically, because of COVID, like I went through that whole process and I did all my training and everything online. They had developed classes, I think, just for that situation, and so like I just went through that. I must be one of their first COVID people, like, because all that training that they developed for online stuff, like it definitely made it a lot easier to like not having to go in, I think.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm in, is because
Yeah. COVID. Buy a PlayStation, join the union.
exactly. Yeah.
What are those classes? You know, ostensibly you join a union, or, you know, if you're invited to the ASC or whatever, it's because of your body of work and because of your expertise. So what are they teaching you in these classes? Are they just trying to get everyone at like kind of the same speed, or like what does that entail?
Oh, all the contract service stuff.
Is that what those are? I'm not in the union,
Yeah.
so I
Like
don't know.
contract services has so they have a lot of courses, and they're all like OSHA, like safety related.
Gotcha. Okay.
Sexual harassment related. You know what I think it is? I think it's for the producers.
Right.
When you're in the union, they know that you've taken all of these courses to reduce their liability. I think
Yeah.
is what it is, right?
Yeah.
Like they know they have a DP that's taken all the required safety courses, all the required courses on, not getting canceled, not getting yourself in trouble, like all that stuff. Like and
Behaving like a professional,
yeah, exactly.
because now you're a professional.
Exactly. And so they know they can hire. I imagine that there's probably some type of like liability and insurance reason. You know, insurance is like, it's going to be this much, but everybody has to be, you know, certified by contract services or being, you know, be in the union or something.
Yeah.
Because with that, they know that you've taken all the proper safety courses and stuff. So they're not courses like teaching you how to light, you know.
Gotcha.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, because I was like, wouldn't you already know? But it's funny. It's like the real is the gut check on if you're competent, and the union is the gut check on if you can just behave like an adult.
Yeah. 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 When I was taking the courses, I think I had that same question. I was like, what are these classes they want me to take? And then once I was through like a few, and I'm like, oh, I see. It's so I don't kill myself or get anyone else killed. And it's a liability thing for the producers, you know.
Right.
They need to know that they have somebody who's been properly trained so that people aren't dying on set.
Well, and it makes total sense. Like when I was bartending, I had to take a food handler's course. Like I'm not handling food, I'm pouring beer, but it's all still, you know, they got to know that you have a base level of safety knowledge and all that. You know, it's not weird. You know, is there obviously being in the union is helpful for plenty of reasons, not just being able to work on union gigs notwithstanding. Is there anything that makes it more difficult being in the union? Like, is it harder to work on certain gigs now that because you're at that professional level, or is it all kind of like always a good choice to do that?
I don't know if I'm the right person. I joined the union. I have yet to work a union job.
Well, to be fair, in the amount of time you've been in it, not a lot of jobs.
Yeah. I mean, everything I've done has been, again, all the biggest films I work on it's been international, and they're not local. Yeah. and they're so I don't, I think there is something though to being ready when somebody does ask you.
Right.
Kind of there's a lot of hoops to jump through once you join it.
Well, and to your earlier point about like taking meetings with agents and stuff, it's like way easier for an agent to rep you if you already have all these pre-qualifications, and not only just your body of work, but again, that not safety, but confidence in who they're repping based on those qualifications.
Yeah. And it was like, and joining it's not cheap.
Nope.
But they do have like really nice 0% finance programs. Like you can pay it over time. And so, that I don't think I would have been able to do it had they not had that, been like allowed us to do that, but that definitely made it easier.
Sure. Shit, I just realized we went over. It's hard, dude. It's so hard.
That's an hour?
Dude, it goes by so fast. I've literally learned if I fill my notepad up, we're going for 2 hours. Like half of a notepad is usually a full hour conversation. I used to prepare like 8.5 by 11 pages. And I was like, I'll never get to all of this. I just got to lock this down to the top, like 10 I want to talk about.
I mean, do you edit this? You do a little?
Not really. I mean, so, like if so, this is. I've had a few people ask me, like, not people I've interviewed.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say people who like want to start podcasts, and I've found that the fastest way to edit is just while you're doing the interview. If you find that you're gonna have to cut something out, like so, we started at 1 o'clock, right, or at 2 o'clock. If that's on a timeline, I know that's going to be 0, right? So if I or you say something that I know needs to get cut out for whatever reason, I'll just look at the clock and then go, all right, well, that was minute 46, and I'll just put a circle around it. And then I keep that piece of paper. And then when I go to like construct the podcast together, chop out the beginning and end where we're just bullshitting, I just go to minute 46 and then search for it instead of like, making a transcript and like, the interview is already an hour and a half. I'm not going to rewatch it. I've gotten editing down to 20 minutes. I can knock it out in 20 minutes, but it's just, I'm so like, I should do it right after this. I should put it together because the next episode comes out tomorrow, but I always put it off to the last second because I'm hoping I can get to the point where I can just give it to someone to do it, but I don't make a penny on this shit. So this is all just for fun.
Yeah. I don't know how much they cost. The editors, like the big YouTubers that they're sending out their stuff to get edited, right?
Yeah, but okay. So I have a few friends who work relatively in that space, and there are so many young guys, it's usually guys, who aren't, speaking to the point of like unions and all that stuff, like they were raised on Premiere or Final Cut or whatever. So it's like a second language to them, and it seems easy. So they're like, hey, I'll do it for $20. Like I know plenty of like YouTubers who have like millions of subscribers who are paying their editors like $20-$50 to edit a 1 hour gameplay video or whatever it may be. Because those kids ostensibly don't know their worth.
Yeah.
Like if you ask a real editor to do something, it's going to be $500 minimum a day, not even for the project. And they're doing $20-$50, whatever, just because they're so excited to work for their favorite YouTuber. And it's like, that is actually one thing that I do not like about where the lower tier of the industry is headed. Because that will trickle up. We can find an editor, we can find a filmer for this, that'll do it for cheaper. It's like, all right, well then hire them. Luckily, like you might be in this position. I feel like I'm relatively there where I can be like, all right, well then hire that guy. Like I don't need you to pay me $200 to film for 3 days 18-hour days. You know,
Yeah,
something will come along
on the project. But
well, yeah, I mean, yeah, if it's something you're super stoked on, but usually it's like, for me, it's, you know, corporate or whatever. I don't do a lot of narrative recently, which blows. That's actually, you're right. If someone handed me a sick narrative project that I could actually do some good work in, yeah, I'd do that for dirt cheap, because just want to do that again.
Depends on like who's in it, like that. Especially if you have an incredible actor. Oh, like
Right.
that's what motivates me the most. It would be like when I know there's an incredible actor. Not that they don't have to be famous, you know.
Right.
But
Just good.
I think that's my dream. I would just like I think I love indie films in the sense that like if you it's like a sommelier who's like, you know, sure, everybody knows the expensive bottles of wine, but you know, when they're suggesting you like the new up and coming and the value bottles and stuff, it's like amazing to discover these actors who are so good and no one knows about them yet. Like I could pick a career, it'd be like making movies with actors like that and just discovering new talent all the time.
Yeah. That my example recently has consistently been the kid from The Holdovers.
Oh yeah.
Just got picked out of the school they filmed in.
Yeah.
I think his name's Dominic. Like, I was like, that kid needs to quit whatever he's doing and just start acting, because damn.
I like Alexander, man. One of my favorite movies is as an Alexander Payne film. It's The Descendants.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But yeah, that's crazy. That was his first gig, right? Didn't they find him at the school?
At the school they were filming in. And then I was talking to Eigel Burld, who shot it, and he was like, "Oh yeah, it was hilarious because like everyone had, you know, accommodations, hotel, trailer, whatever, and they just sent Dominic back to his room because it's like a boarding school. So they're like, all right, go back to your room, go back to your dorm, buddy. Like, we'll call you when we need you." Like,
did he get any other gigs after that?
I assume he took some phone calls. I don't know. Though. I haven't looked him up or anything. I should probably stalk that kid. But yeah, that one was good. The other one the other thing that gets me excited, like if great actor and sick production design, coming full circle to what your sister did. Like what got me into film was legitimately like effects work. Like I have every Cinefex. Like that shit excites the hell out of me. I should have gotten into that, but I became a DP. Yeah, so if I work on a film with a sick actor and like a lot of like fun props and production design and all that, like that's what I'm aiming for.
I mean, that's that. Yeah, there's that saying like DPs take credit all the time for good production design.
Yeah, that's why I interview production designers on this show sometimes. Is because it's like, how do you do it? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. It's like if you could take the exact same light and even the same actor. I think an actor is really a good, interesting face is important and good acting in a cinematography reel, right?
Yeah.
But like, you could take the exact same light, and if it's just like, you know, LA apartment in the background, you know, or like you're just a white wall, you know, or you throw amazing production design back there. It makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
I always wonder how, like, I always go back to the Goldfinch. I was like, how does Deakins shoot clean white? Because they're in that Las Vegas track home, you know, like this is like the standard house when nobody has any money and they're trying to make a movie, and it's just the production design's so bad because it's just these plain, like, you know, these plain walls, and I'm like, God, how did Deakins do it? And I was looking like he did pretty good.
It's so obviously Deakins is like the king of simplicity. Yeah. You know, when people ask you look at his lighting steps, he's like, I don't know, I just bounced it off that, you know, and that's it. And especially to your point about like lighting can be very simple, production design's amazing. But I remember watching, what was it called, Empire of Light or whatever, about the theater. And I didn't know anything about it. Because I'm on that AMCA list and I'm like one of those cult members that always tells everyone you need to get on the AMCA list. I'll just go to movies. Like I don't look anything up, just book it. And so we went to that one, and I like Olivia Colman. And within the first 15 minutes, the quality of the tungsten light in that film, I was like, did Deacon shoot this? And then we get to the end and it was like, yeah, fucking, of course he did. There's something about the way that he like demands the coloring or whatever his like production LUT is that he always uses, but there's something about the way that he handles tungsten, or maybe it's just I don't see tungsten anymore because everyone's using LED.
Yeah.
There's something about it that's just very Deaconsy. It's like yellow. It's very yellow. It's not orange, you know?
Right. Yeah, he's not afraid. He likes to go into those deeper tungsten shades, but I mean, it's also about how he shapes it. You know?
Yeah.
I guess incredible.
Yeah.
Do you snowboard? You skate and snowboard?
Yeah. That's actually my 25th anniversary board.
I grew up snowboarding and surfing. Like, so are you from Southern California?
Northern California.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I saw you were from San Francisco. I'm from San Jose. So.
Well, I was just born there, but I grew up in Southern California. So.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. If I were to tilt the camera, there's 3 more boards on this wall. Yeah. I've never sold or gotten rid of this one.
Do you have an Icon pass?
So I run college ski trips every winter. And so for like 2 months, December, January, I'm in Colorado. And this was the first season where they were like, hey, it was cheaper to get you an Icon pass than to buy you the tickets for these trips. So this year I did get it. I got one, but then I didn't end up using it.
That's exactly how they're pricing it, man. They're so smart. I mean, they basically to just outright buy ski tickets, they've made it so expensive. They're forcing people into a subscription model.
Yep.
It's just makes more sense to just buy an Icon pass every year if you're in this very expensive sport of skiing to begin with.
Yeah. It's Vail Resorts is not doing good by the ski and snowboard community, in my opinion. They are corporatizing something that used to just be a fun hang and making it not fun. Because it is expensive, but even like there was one, it was like the last locally owned mountain in Colorado just got bought by, I think it was Vail or someone, and it's just like
it's like 2 companies, right? Like that. There's whoever owns Icon, and then there's Epic.
Yeah,
and like those 2 companies own like a really high percentage of all the ski resorts in the world.
Yeah. Well, and that was the other problem too. They got me an Icon pass, and then all the LA, California adjacent mountains are all Icon or Epic. So I was like, I was hoping I could go to like Mammoth or something.
Yeah. No, wait. Mammoth and Big Bear are Icon.
Oh, are they? Okay, well, then I fucked up. Maybe I don't know what I was looking at.
And Epic is Whistler. If you go to Whistler,
I have not been to Canada yet, but the closest I've gotten is Steamboat.
Oh, well, that's a good resort,
dude. Steamboat. The backside of Steamboat is like infinitely sessionable, even though it's kind of short. But yeah, I've snowboarded literally my whole life. It's like walking.
Yeah,
I don't.
This is by the way, related to cinematography. This is part of how I could transition into it. I was shooting like snowboarding and skateboarding videos and stuff like that.
Okay. We got to get into this.
Not turn it back. I could talk about snowboarding all day long.
Yeah. Well, but
that is partly how I got into.
So same for me with skateboarding. I always wanted to film snowboarding, but at the time, I had an XL2. So I wasn't going to bring that on the that's scary. And also filming while snowboarding, like there's a reason skiers film because it's a lot easier to, go down forward. But how were you filming those snowboard films? And had you ever heard of the German group Ice and Seven?
No.
I'm going to send you some links. They put all they've kind of disbanded now. Most of them became like Red Bull athletes or whatever. But they back in like, when we were in college, somewhere between like 05 and 12, they were putting out the most high budget on a shoestring budget snowboard films ever. They're like
movies. They're like feature films.
Yeah. I mean, like we're not talking art flight here, but it's like when you're so used to skateboard films and like that raw kind of aesthetic that we all, the 411 videos or Trans World or anything like that. Watching the Ice and Seven guys was like, oh, like I've never seen someone use After Effects in a snowboard film or like a jib. Like or HD, like it was actually in HD for the first time, which was crazy. Like when you see these, you'll if I were to show anyone else, they'd be like, yeah, that looks fine. But like if you understand when it came out, you'll be like, this is actually cutting fucking edge for snowboard films at the time. And they were fun.
They kind of trying to be like, are you familiar with like old school like Warren Miller?
Yeah. Oh, I when I was in college, I put up
like a new school Warren Miller, like just like big budget production ski film.
No, so I actually did a lot of Warren Miller premieres at my college, but Warren Miller always felt more like National Geographic to me. Warren Miller was like, I think Art of Flight was trying to be Warren Miller and then just like overshot it, you know?
Oh, interesting.
Whereas Ice and Seven was just trying to make the average skate film as pretty as possible, because they didn't have like infinite resource. They were still shooting on like EX3s or whatever, but they just put a shit ton of effort into it, and they had 6 soundtracks.
Did they stumble on like, is it like one of those things where they didn't necessarily mean to be like that, but their friend who they hired to DP was like an aspiring DP?
That's exactly what happened.
Okay.
You know what's crazy? Because I was such a fan of it, and these guys are German, right? They never came to they would tour their films in Germany. I think maybe they came to America once. But I followed the DP and the director on Instagram, and in like 2016 or 17, I get an email from someone working at Mini Cooper and goes, hey, we were looking for a DP in America. This guy suggested you. And I was like, he knows I exist? What? Hold on. Like, I guess he followed me back or whatever and had me on Instagram. And because, you know, I'd comment on his shit because I was his fan. But then he got me a gig on a mini ad. Wow. That I fully did not deserve, but you know, it was a good jump for me.
You have influence in this. I mean, I've bought sun-filled bulbs because of you.
Oh, really? Did you read that article, dude? I need GE to. That's actually been brought up a couple times. I need some more. They're really pretty lights. The only thing I've noticed now after using them for like 4 years is that if you run them nonstop, you know, if it's like your main kitchen light, they will start to flicker with like on startup. Like because they're dying, you know, because I'm the one in my closet's probably been running for 3 years nonstop. Because at night that's just the like office light because I don't have like an overhead.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, those things are spectrally excellent.
Yeah. I mean, I got I put one in my refrigerator.
Really?
Because like I the bulb in my fridge, it was, you know, it was dying, and then I started thinking about like, you know, CRI or TLCI, you know, for like a refrigerator light,
Right.
And like, because I was always kind of like, you know, now that I think about it, like all my food always looked a little muddy, you know, like nothing really. And then so I put in a high quality bulb in my fridge, and now like all my bell peppers pop and everything was like changing in there. And like, yeah, I think I highly recommend putting in high quality light for DPs, you know, like in their fridge. You guys should do it.
Dude, after I wrote that article, I literally went around my house and replaced every single bulb.
Yeah.
Because it was like
they're still affordable.
They're not. When I wrote that article, they were like $12. Now they're like $4. No, it was like 20. They were like expensive when they first came out. But now they're super cheap. But yeah, like LADWP was handing out. They're like, hey, we're switching everyone to LED. Here's some free bulbs, and they are like the garbagiest bulb. I'm like, you are giving everyone in Los Angeles a headache with these stupid, worse than IKEA free bulbs. You absolutely went to the lowest bidder, and I just fucking ripped them everything out. And now it's all one color temperature, all one spectral output. It's very pleasing to me. My girlfriend did not notice a difference, but I did. Well, listen, man, I've kept you a half hour over, so I'll let you go. But obviously, it's great chatting with you. And I'll right when I hop off, I'll send you the links to the snowboard film. And
yeah, man, guys, later. Okay,
later, buddy.
Thanks.
Frame and Reference is an Owlbot production. It's produced and edited by me, Kenny McMillan, and distributed by Pro Video Coalition. If you'd like to support the podcast directly, you can do so on Patreon by going to frameandrefpod.com, where you can get all the episodes, and clicking the Patreon button. It's always appreciated, and as always, thanks for listening.